Hey, Brody. Hey, Brody. How are you, Brody? Hey, how are you? How you doing? You doing good? You're okay? Well, that's good. Mm, Here we are. It's January 11th, 2022, or 2023, excuse me. I'm Larissa. Having my coffee. That was a bummer of a game last night, huh? Big bummer of a game, huh? Oh, whatever. It's a game. It's a game. That's all. It's a game. And it's a big racket, right? Makes a lot of money. Makes people do all kinds of crazy ass shit over a game. Oh, talk about when I first started watching basketball. Oh, the whole reason I started watching basketball was Mr. Charles Barkley. Yeah, he is. He's the whole reason. I met him when I was a little girl. I was in the Girl Scouts, and we were living out by Philadelphia. And I was born in Pittsburgh, and my family, mostly all out there. Talk about biological family, right? Um. Anyway, everybody's a big Steelers fan. They don't have a basketball team in Pittsburgh, and nobody in my family really watched basketball. Nobody was into basketball. They're into everything else. Everything else but, right? Not basketball. Anyway, big Steelers fans. And we moved out to Philadelphia after my dad graduated, right after he got his undergrad degree. He got a job with AT&T. And we moved out to, what was it? Wyomissing Hills was the first place we lived. Anyway, everybody out in Philly are Eagles fans, right? And my house was a Steelers house. And I didn't like watching football with my family because everybody screamed and yelled and hooted and hollered. And I didn't like watching it with them. It was upsetting to me. And then I couldn't even say, like, when you go to school, everybody's talking about the Eagles, and I couldn't say anything about the Steelers because if you say anything about the Steelers, then they jump down your throat, right? And Philly fans, no matter what the sport, Philly fans are aggressive. Aggressive. So I just didn't talk about football at all. Football was always stressful, right? Until I got older and played. That's a whole other story. But anyway, I went with the Girl Scouts to see the Harlem Globetrotters. A field trip. And they were playing. I can't remember if there was there was an actual game. Yeah, it was an actual game. It was an actual they played the 76ers. And I can't remember if it was before or after. I think it was after the game. It was after the game. It was after the game. We got to go down on the court, and first time I ever touched a basketball, right? That basketball like came up to my hip, dribbling a basketball first time, and Charles Barkley was there. He was, and he talked to me. We're sitting, the Girl Scouts. We were all sitting around, and it was Charles Barkley and one of the Globetrotters. I don't remember which one because they're different, right? They're different all the time. Real tall, skinny guy with big knobby knees. I remember that. I remember looking at his knees and being like, why does his knees look like that? Big knobby knees. He had big knobby knees, and he had on low top sneakers. Real tall and skinny, big knobby knees. Anyway, and he had a big space between his teeth. He had a big space between his front teeth because I had big space between my front teeth too. And I was like, oh, he's got teeth like mine. I don't remember which player it was. And then Charles Barkley from the 76ers, and he said to me, I was sitting right there in the front, I was real little, because I was super short, because I'm still short, and he's like, how are you, little girl? And I said, good. And he said, you ever been to a basketball game before? I said, No. He said, what'd you think? And I said, it was fun. I met Charles Barkley. Yeah, Charles Barkley showed us how to dribble basketball. And so, he told us who he was and who he played for, and I was all excited. I'm like, what is this sport that isn't football? And they don't have a team in Pittsburgh, so nobody can yell at me. Nobody can. So I was like excited about that, and so I started watching basketball by myself. Nobody in my family watched it. I watched it by myself. I didn't get to watch all the games, but whenever I saw them on, right, I'd watch Mr. Charles Barkley. He was, I was like, I met him. He was nice to me. He had a big round head and he had a little mustache. And he had big white teeth. He still got big white teeth. He just doesn't have that little mustache anymore, huh? Anyway, that's why I started watching basketball. Nobody else in my family watched it. And my grandma found out I was watching it. She goes, oh, Rissy, Grandma doesn't like basketball. I'm like, I know. My grandma watched everything else. My grandmother had debilitating arthritis. She had debilitating arthritis and couldn't walk very well, and so she would sit in her chair and crochet, and during the day she'd watch game shows, and then in the evening she'd watch sports. And then as she got older, then she picked up watching golf, and she would just watch golf all day. She loved Tiger Woods. She didn't watch basketball. She hated basketball. It's a nice distraction, sort of. People are kind of rude, huh? They get all up in arms. It's just a game. It's just a game. It's a game. It's a game. I really feel like all of the gambling stuff has really, 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 really been a nail in the coffin. And so it's all about just making money, right? Everything's a big money game now. And it always was a big money game, but now it's just even worse. I don't know. Maybe I'll just stop watching altogether again. Many, many years I didn't watch anything. Right? Many, many years. Didn't start watching basketball again until until I started going out and doing open mics in Oakland. That's when I started watching basketball again. Because there was this bar I used to like to go to. Because drinks were inexpensive. They had a lively open mic. There was interesting conversation during the day, and there were mirrors, so you could sit at the bar and watch your back. There were mirrors up above, and they had a bunch of TVs, and they used to put on basketball. And I rediscovered basketball. I was like, oh yeah. So I started watching again. When did I quit watching basketball? I quit watching basketball in college because I was too busy. I followed basketball through high school. Yeah, elementary school, middle school, high school. I did. I watched more hockey because, my family was more into hockey and I played hockey. Until watched hockey until, I don't want to talk about it. But, yeah, that's when I started watching basketball again. Because they watched it there. And the guys were surprised that I knew the game. All right. Whatever. No one started watching it with me. He found out I was watching basketball, and he started watching it with me. His dad liked basketball. But if I'm not allowed to be a fan, right? If I'm not allowed to make any comments about anything, I'm not allowed to make comments about anything without having somebody jump down my throat. Whatever. Some cleanup needs to happen out here on the property. But there's no point doing it until all the rain's done, right? I'm just grateful that we had the presence of mind and fought to do all the preventative work that we've been doing here. And we really have. We've had to fight with it, with, like neighbors and being irritated. Why are you doing this? Why, like whatever. I'm glad, you know. Mm. Maybe I just won't watch anymore. Hmm. I don't know. All I know right now is that my hip hurts so bad. It really does. It was hurting really bad last night. Omar asks me sometimes, because like my pain gets worse with the back and forth of the rain, right? The moisture, the humidity, the barometer gets me, right? The barometer gets me. And with the storm systems coming in and out, in and out, in and out, it's like up and down, up and down, up and down with this hip. And sometimes he asks me, how's your hip feeling? And I'm just like, the answer is always, it hurts, because the answer is, it always hurts. And it's not just my hip, right? It's like largely the right side of my body. But if I talk about the physical pain that I just live with, if I were to talk about it all the time, that would be all I would talk about. I get tired of hearing about it. I get tired of hearing about it. Yeah. Oh, just take a painkiller. Just take a painkiller. I can't just take a painkiller. I'm allergic to opioids. And I learned from watching my grandmother that if you start once you start taking the steroids for joint health, it's a slippery slope, because those steroids, they ultimately further disintegrate the joint, right? They destroy the padding that you have in your joints. I really, really, really need to get back to doing yoga regularly. And once I get my space set up, right, get my studio and gallery set up, then there'll be space here in the house for me to start doing yoga again. Because that's what the problem has become, is that I have my workspace just takes up too much room, right? And I don't have space to go do yoga. So once I get my workspace situated and settled, then I can go back to. I used to do yoga like at the peak. I was doing it 5 days a week, and it was 3 days a week, 3 days a week. Then it was 1 day a week. It's hard. It's hard. And the pandemic bullshit, not being able to go out and do anything and move around or whatever. Yeah. The government really ensured that there's a lot more people with a lot more health issues through that pandemic, right? I don't see where where those, like, all the fear now that everybody has of each other, and ugh. Anyway, I don't mind winning or losing when it comes to basketball. Like, yeah, it's better when it's more exciting when your team wins, right? But honestly, just keep in perspective what your job is. Your job is to play a game, and it's entertainment. Monty Williams was right before the game. Suns coach before the game. He's right. You're not digging ditches. You're not going to war. You're playing a game. Anyway, drinking out of porcelain. No, I drank out of a skull earlier. I had my tea, my medicine. so I can walk. Have a good day.